Body shot. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it?
When the adrenaline starts pumping and you know what you can do with this right hand, it's hard to not do that.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. Today we're talking about Font versus Chito Vera. This is going to be a banger in the bantamweight division. Now, admittedly, it's been a little bit of a busy week in the life department for here over on the Bloody Water Podcast, but that doesn't stop us from grinding film, breaking it down, getting the prop bets together, getting everything ready so you can get all the information you need to make the most educated and accurate picks for your MMA betting sports this weekend, man. I mean, we are some of the best in the game. Both of us over about 64% accuracy rate on the year. And let me just bring in my co-host, the New Mexico native, the Santa Fe bomber, the man who is currently in the lead by one pick right now. AJ, brother, how are you living?
I'm living well, Derick. Like you said, brother, it's been a grinder of a week, but you know what? It kind of sets it up for this card, man. I was doing the research. There's a lot of grinders on this card, and it made me think it's pulling through every time, man. Got to get that work going and get it done, man. I'm living well over here, brother. How you doing?
Right on, man. I'm living good. Like you said, we already started off saying this has been busy. This has been hectic. It leads us up to this card, but I'm just excited that we have some fights here, brother. I mean, as we're recording this, I think NFL draft is today. We got some MMA fights. Hockey season is finally coming to a close, brother. I know we talked about it briefly a couple shows ago, man, but I can't, listen, I got a little bit of a disdain seeing that on my TV. I'd rather see fights all day long, but we got PFL this weekend too, brother. We got some PFL action, UFC action, no Bellator, but either way, we're set up for a night of some fun fights. So 12 bouts are on the docket, I believe, AJ, and one of the bouts that are on here is the rebooking of Alexandr Romanov versus Chase Sherman. And I just wanted to say off the bat, Alexandr Romanov, I don't know where he's at right now, but at one point he was a minus 2,300 favorite in terms of betting over Chase Sherman. That's kind of ridiculous, and that's also the biggest betting favorite in UFC history. What do you make of this, man? If you are a betting fan, if you are a wagering fan, even if you're just a casual, do you throw $5-10 on Chase Sherman just because, brother? I mean, coming in at plus 1,000, like, what are we talking about?
You have to, bro. You have to throw just a little bit of scratch down on Chase Sherman because homeboy's fast. He has power. He's not completely out of the fight. It is a very much an uphill battle for sure, but you have to throw some money down. That's a ridiculous odd right there.
Yeah. Well, what do you make of a situation like that? Like when Vegas is so heavy on one individual person, it kind of makes you wonder, why is this matchup even being rebooked necessarily, right? Like why have such I don't know, man, a discrepancy in who we think is going to win. Normally, we don't see too many very one-sided fights in the UFC, but this appears to be set up for one of them. We already know about Chase Sherman. We already know about the beast that is Alexandr Romanov, but it just makes me wonder sometimes, like, why would the UFC willingly go ahead and put this bout on? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I know it was a late replacement, but even at that thing, they moved it again another week, so it's kind of really not getting to that late replacement phase. It does. It begs a couple questions, especially the release of Chase Sherman after the Collier fight. Now to come back, well, I forget how many months later. It's interesting. I mean, it's very curious. And I was always wondering why they're cutting so many heavyweights when the division is so shallow. Yeah. And that's really kind of where I was thinking, like, why are they doing all this, bringing people back and forth, having to do the shuffle? Might as well just keep them around a little bit.
It makes sense. It makes sense. So, folks, we will leave that for you to ponder. But in the meantime, AJ, let's get straight to it, brother. Let's talk about a poster review. So I'm going to bring it up. For those who are listening, we're going to describe it to the best of our ability and give it a score. So we have Font on the left, Chito Vera on the right. You got the yellow, we got the purples. Listen, brother, this is a little bit of a lackluster posters to me. And this is kind of what I was telling you. I think it was last week. We had a decent poster. And I was like, listen, man, this is going to get some love because I've seen some of the future ones and not looking too hot. Listen, AJ, where's the creativity in this one? I mean, just tell me what you're seeing and give me a score because I'm not feeling too great about this.
I'm not feeling too great about this one, Derick. It looks like the creator of the poster right here let her child go and have a little color fun in the background, just a little little paint by numbers or a hand paint, whatever it is. Yeah, I don't really see anything too different, man. Nice shout. Like, I mean, it's colors are cool. I'm going real low, brother. I don't have anything nice. I'm gonna stop stuttering over here. I'm going 3.
This one's
interesting.
I'm about with you right there. I think I can match you right there with a 3. I don't think that it deserves to go below that, but I do say for such a banging main event, for such like a great fun matchup, the poster doesn't give me that same hype. So if like I saw this poster and this was the only thing that was going to allow me to get excited to see an upcoming bout, I probably wouldn't tune in. That's how bad the poster is. However, the matchup is still phenomenal. So for folks, we promise that we are going to make sure we do this on this week's preview show. I have a TLDR for you. So folks, if you just want the picks, if you want to take the picks, go run to your local bookie and go put them in, cash them in. Here it is for you. So 6 fights overall. I'm rocking with Rob Font, Andre Arlovski, Joanderson Brito, Gordon. Who is it? Gordon? Malcolm Gordon? Jared Gordon. There we go. Jared Gordon, Darren, The Damage Elkins, and Krzysztof Jotko. Now, AJ, brother, talk to me who you rolling with and talk to me about the differing picks right here.
Well, this week, Derick, I'm rolling Chito Vera, man. I'm going with the Ecuadorian toe over there, and then Andre Arlovski as well. Followed up by Andre Fili. And we're rolling a couple different, like you said, going a little different ways on these ones this week. So it's going to be an interesting card. Next, I'm rocking with Dawson. Then with you, man, Derek, The Damage Elkins, finishing up with Krzysztof Jotko. Those last 2 are the same, but I like that we have a couple different picks. There was a couple coin tosses in here. So it's going to be an interesting week to see how all this shakes up for the scoring.
Absolutely. And once again, folks, the differing picks between me and AJ this week, I'm picking Rob Font. He's picking Chito Vera. I'm picking Joanderson Brito. He's picking Touchy Fili. And then I got Jared Gordon, and he has Grant Dawson. So either way, no matter how you shake it, the score is going to be a little bit different next week. You know what I'm saying? Either I'm going to take the lead or AJ is going to cement his lead. Or in some strange twist of fate, we'll be back in square one. I don't know how that works, but maybe it might work. So that is your TLDR, folks. And if you want to know why we're picking, stick around. We'll let you know. All right, AJ, brother. Last thing before we jump into the swing of things, before we get straight into the main event, I did want to ask the good folks at home to drop a like, subscribe. We're currently at 368 subscribers. So every single week, I'm giving you the update on the subscriber count, and it's going up every single week. That means we appreciate it. That means you guys have been tuning in, you've been subscribing, and you've been making sure that you have the Free Thinkers Club / Bloody Water podcast bookmarked, saved in a scenario on your YouTube so you can go get the easy access to the great picks that you need. Like I said, accuracy is impeccable. Picks are phenomenal. AJ, what more do we need to say? I don't think anything else, right?
Nah, brother.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I said before we get in the main card, but we got to step before that. We got to hit some sleepers, brother. So let's hear the golden voice of Bobby King Green.
Time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, AJ, you want to talk about sleepers, brother? You got a hell of a sleeper to kick off UFC Vegas 53. Not only is it a sleeper, but this is also the opening bout for the card between two fighters that are going to be making their UFC debuts. Both of these dudes got hands. Both of them can kick. Both of them can knock somebody out. Both of them can grapple. It's going to be a fun one, brother. Talk me through it. Who is your sleeper for UFC Vegas 53?
You said it, Derick. I got 2 debutants showing up, whatever it is. I'm going Tatsuro Tiara versus Carlos Candelario, man. These are going to be an absolute banger of a fight right here. Undefeated Tatsuro Tiara, however you say the name. This dude's coming out of Japan, flinging absolute heat, bro. This dude is a finisher. He's something like all round 1 finishes of his 10 fights. I think there might be 1 decision in there, 1 round 2. This dude barely makes it out of the fights looking scathed like he's ever gotten hit, man. This dude is an absolute brawler. Like you said, Derek, both these dudes up and down, wherever this fight goes, hands, feet, grappling, wrestling, doesn't matter. Very skilled, especially for being so young in the game, man. This is what kind of drew me to this fight right here is these dudes very young in the game. Like I said, showing up to the UFC. First fight in, then we got a 22-year-old in Tiara, and then Candelario. He's a little bit older. He's 30, but still UFC debut, still young, still hungry, entering the prime of his life. And Candelario, man, don't sleep on this dude because he can absolutely bang. He's been in the contender series a couple times, so he's had his ups, he's had his downs. He only has 1 loss though, and he came in his last contender series fight, but he still got the contract from Uncle Dana, man. So this dude is the real deal. Crazy power, crazy speed. We're in for a lot of fun on this first fight right here, man. And honestly, I don't really see how, I can't see how this one is going to go just yet, but I do know it's going to be fireworks from the jump and a lot of fun, man. Hectic in the 125-pound class.
Yeah.
Going to be flying around, man. Going to be a lot of fun. You got to check it out. Derek, what do you think about this sleeper and who's yours?
Well, I thought this was a fun matchup, and I thought it was really intriguing that you gravitated straight towards the flyweights, the 125-pounders, which goes to show time and time again that these Breeden, the flyweight class is nice, man. And it's crazy to think that we were legitimately on the verge of destroying the division, getting rid of the whole entire division in the UFC when Mighty Mouse, Demetrius Johnson, the greatest flyweight ever, basically was, you know what I mean, handling business. And I don't know, maybe Henry Cejudo, has he surpassed Mighty Mouse? No, I don't think so. But I will say this, AJ, that goes to show you how boring domination and greatness is, that they wanted to cut the division because the man was too dominant. Either way, Tiara, I don't know how to pronounce it either. Apologies. He's going to make us remember it this weekend, though. Should be a fun fight. I thought this was a fun fight overall, brother. And I got a sleeper myself that is going to be in a little bit of a higher weight class, but also should be a fun fight. But admittedly, AJ, I don't think it's going to be as fun as yours. So I will say, folks, tune into AJ's sleeper. However, my sleeper this week, folks, I'm going to roll into the lightweight weight division, the lightweight weight division, 155 pounds. I got Natan Levy versus Mike Breeden. And this is going to be a fun matchup because Natan Levy, super hyped up coming into the UFC. He's like the first UFC Israeli fighter, karate black belt. This dude came in, made his UFC debut against Rafa Garcia and lost his fight. Why? Because Rafa Garcia is a beast. That's why. However, what makes this fight really popular to me is because you have two dudes who lost their UFC debuts who are coming back with a vengeance. One is more hyped up than the other, but both of these dudes can swing. Both of them can crack. Natan Levy has 3 submission wins, a lot of decision wins, great spinning techniques, great karate techniques, great at-length techniques, but he could also make the fight a grinder if he needs to. Mike Breeden, who lost his UFC debut to Alexander Hernandez via knockout, a very nasty knockout if I do say so myself. The man has 8 knockout wins. He fights out of Glory MMA. And listen, this dude's got flying knee knockouts, left hook knockouts, body shot knockouts. He can knock you out in a plethora of different ways. And one thing is for sure, he's going to bring the fight to Natan Levy. So we're going to see the crazy spinning kicks. We're going to see the crazy at distance karate stance versus the boxing, kickboxing intensive, get in your face style of Mike Breeden. It's going to be a really fun fight. However, a little slower of a pace than I think AJ Sleeper. Either way, these are fights that you need to tune into, and we will give you in the prelim pour-over a couple other good fights to watch out for on the prelim. So, with that being said, folks, go tune in. Those are your featured prelims, UFC Vegas 3. But without any further ado, AJ, let's talk some main card, brother.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, my man. How can we not be spoiled with a main event like this? Like, this is an interesting contest, and I thought it was really interesting off the bat that we kind of viewed this in different ways, as in terms of who the winner of this matchup will be. So Rob Font, coming off of a loss to Jose Aldo, a loss where he was winning a lot of the fight, but he lost the big moments. And then you got Chito Vera, who's, you know, the Ecuadorian toe right there, who was coming off of that front kick knockout of Frankie the Answer, Edgar, right? The Truth, the Answer? I don't remember. Either way, man, devastating knockout. This is going to be a fun fight, but what do you think about Rob Font being a minus 130 favorite? Like, to me, in a little bit of a way, it kind of feels like it's underserved. Like, his loss to Jose Aldo knocked some real steam off of him, even though he has a win over Cody Garbrandt, Marlon Moraes, Ricky Simon, and Sergio Pettis in his last 5. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, I actually think especially when I was breaking this down, I thought Rob Font was going to be the favorite. I thought it was going to be close. I thought it was going to be like a 115 to a 115, somewhere in there, a real close fight. But this is right up the alley as well. I definitely, I don't know if Rob Font lost steam from the Jose Aldo fight as much as everyone is like, well, yeah, it's Jose Aldo. You know, you can't really get past that one. At least in my book, I didn't see him losing steam. So I was not as shocked to see him as the favorite on this one. I definitely, Chito Vera is kind of still not respected, at least in my opinion, as far as like the rest of the UFC in the division. He's still kind of slept on. Nobody gives him credit for the UFC or for the Sean O'Malley fight. So I think going forward, these next 3 wins after that one, man, he's really kind of put on, but still being slept on a lot. So I can see why Rob Font's the favorite in this one for sure.
Yeah, and I agree. Marlon Vera hasn't gotten the respect that he deserves because he's on another surge, man. He's had multiple surges in the UFC. I mean, let's look at his UFC record, 12-6, brother. I mean, that's ridiculous. You have what, 18 fights in the UFC out of your. He has 18 wins and he has 18 fights in the UFC. Obviously, he has more fights than he has wins. Regardless, I think that the matchup between these two is really going to be a testament on who is willing to or who is going to be able to implement their game plan. So, AJ, I don't know if you agree with me here, but one of the things that I thought was going to be very intriguing regarding this matchup was how are the leg kicks? Who's going to be more effective with the leg kicks and who's going to be more effective with the grappling? I think those are the two really big caveats for me, at least, that made me say That's going to be the difference in this fight. We already know Rob Font works off of a beautiful, stiff jab, but he doesn't have a crazy reach advantage like he does in most fights. He only has a 1.5-inch reach advantage on Marlon Vera. What does Vera do, though, to mitigate that reach? He uses his legs, right? Those beautiful front kicks, those teep kicks, man. That's breaking that range. That's his jab, kind of in a way, but he also fights, behind his own jab. If you had to guess right now, who shoots first in this matchup? Because both of these dudes can grapple.
Both these dudes can grapple, man. I'm actually thinking it's going to be Font. A lot of us, even when I think of Rob Font coming to my mind, I think this slick boxer, man. Straight down the pipe shots, moving, slick head movement, shoulder rolls, everything. But he can absolutely grapple with the best of them, man. Yeah. And I think he's going to kind of want to prove that one in this fight, especially once Chito starts kicking those legs, that front heavy leg that Rob Font likes to lead off of. Like you're saying with that big power jab, he puts a heavy foot down. Yeah. Chito Vera is going to start kicking that. And then I think Rob Font's going to take this fight down to the ground and try to prove a point. That I'm with you right there, Derick. Yeah. I really see the winner of this fight is going to be the one who can implement their game best, and who's going to be the best of that night. This is going to be a very close and very fun fight.
So I thought it was interesting too, because when I was watching, film on both of these fighters, I see both of them like to walk forward and crowd their opponent. So only one person can do that in a fight, though. Someone has to lead the dance. Who would be more effective fighting off of their back foot is the question that I have. Is Rob Font more effective fighting backwards, or is Chito Vera?
I think Rob Font's more effective, man. He's just a little bit more elusive, a little bit slicker. And I keep talking Rob Font up on this one, but if folks, you remember that TLDR, I'm still going with Vera, but I think Rob Font is just that better, slicker of a striker, going backwards as well as going forwards. Forwards a little bit more of a toss-up, but backwards, I think Chito doesn't work as well off of that back foot, and he starts to get a little pressured, and it's not really his style. So you can see the little bit of awkwardness in it. Rob Font can do both. He's much preferred to be on that front foot, but he can be slick on the back with the counter shots and the straight punches down the pipe. It's one of the best things for that counter punching style.
So what does it mean to you, AJ, that when both of these fighters, Rob Font and Chito Vera, they both fought Jose Aldo, and Rob Font's was a very back-and-forth competitive 5-round fight. However, he did get dropped and hurt multiple times in that fight. And then Chito Vera just kind of got stuffed on the ground, just smash style, right, for 3 rounds against Jose Aldo. This is a fight that Vera actually says he wants to run it back because he thinks he could win that fight. What do those two different outcomes mean to you? They both resulted in a loss, but they were different methods of losing. So what did that mean to you?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Derick, because one was a lot more devastating of a loss. The Chito Vera, that's one that hurts the ego, especially like you said, he wants that one back. Yeah. He wants to actually get that one back, and because it hurt, man, it hurt the ego anytime you're getting stuffed on like that. So I think the Rob Font loss was a better look. And it puts kind of him in a better eye, better light whenever we're seeing two common opponents like that, especially a great one like Jose Aldo. How do you feel about it, Derick? Do you put a lot of weight into the loss that both of them had, or do you weigh one better than the other?
Well, the weight that I put into it is that just the simple fact that Rob Font, there was a situation where he was kind of in that ground spot with Jose Aldo, he was able to get back to his feet. Chito Vera wasn't. So that tells me about the grappling exchanges. Because Rob Font, I think, is a very underrated grappler. Chito Vera is respected as a grappler, I think, more than he is as a striker, even though he's dangerous on both ends of the floor. Basically, what it comes down to is this. If they do initiate a grappling exchange, Marlon Vera has 8 submission wins. Rob Font has 4. So who is going to be looking for that submission? Is that going to be a possibility? Is that going to be an option? And with that being said, AJ, I think now is a perfect time to present some prop odds that I have for this fight. So for Marlon Vera to win by submission is looking at a plus 600 when you're looking at wagering right now, which I thought was kind of interesting because if you look at his last 5, he's got a lot of decision wins. Man, he hasn't won via submission in a little minute, right? Now, Rob Font, when I'm thinking, okay, what's some of his best shots to win? Maybe TKO, right? TKO or points. So on TKO for Rob Font, it's plus 350. On points, it's looking like plus 170. So Chito Vera's submission prop or Rob Font's TKO or points prop, like which one sounds more lucrative to you? How does that plus 600 submission prop for Chito Vera sound for you?
It sounds nice. Now, is that or a KO more likely? Oh man, I don't know, because Rob Font's going to be very hard to catch a submission on, as well as never been knocked out. You know, so it's going to be very hard to crack this dude, get it going. I see value in the submission because it can happen. I just think the points are more likely. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The points by Rob Font are more likely, so I think that's more lucrative. But I do see value in that plus 600, man. It's nothing to scoff at. Chito Vera can get the submission. On Rob Font, I don't know.
So when we're looking at it right here, this is actually Chito Vera's win record. His last submission win came in 2019 against Nolan Hernandez. And it's interesting though, because when Chito Vera first came into the UFC, he was basically submitting everybody. Like that was the name of the game. Then he kind of, got his hands nice. Now he's decisioning up a lot of people, knocking people out. So I think that submission prop is interesting, but I do really like, AJ, I'm not gonna lie to you, that Rob Font TKO prop at plus 350 or Rob Font on points at plus 170. Now for Chito on points, we're looking like plus 325. So the odds makers clearly don't think that he can win this by points, not necessarily. But if you had to go with a money line right here, let's just say you're going in favor of Chito. Plus 110 money line, or do you like the points plus 325? Which one sounds better to you?
Ooh, the plus 110 money line sounds like it's more possible to me. I don't really see him pointing out a victory against Rob Font because it's kind of his specialty on that one.
True.
What about you?
You know what? If I was rooting for Marlon Vera right here, believe it or not, I think I'd take that plus 325 points bet. Just because you never know, brother. What if he does get Rob Font to the ground and just holds him there and is able to win an easy just point fight like that? Who knows, man? This is the interesting thing about this matchup. You can't look at Chito Vera's last fight or Rob Font's last fight and just immediately say that's how it's going to play out this fight. I think it's going to be much more competitive than people think, and I do think people are sleeping on Chito Vera. However, AJ, I already let my pick out the bag. I'm rolling with Rob Font here, brother, and I think he gets the job done via points, my man. Even though I like the TKO prop, I think Rob Font is going to be the busier fighter, and I think that's what's going to win him the fight because significant strikes landed per minute, 5.5 for Rob Font, 4 for Marlon Vera. I'm not going to say that's what's going to dictate the fight, but I will say Rob Font, especially in the Jose Aldo fight, you saw him jab, 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 straight, hook, body shot. He's constantly moving. Chito Vera, he'll stalk you down and just kind of watch you, wait, and then look for the counter. So I think Rob Font's going to be busier. I think he wins on UD or some type of decision. And right now, that's looking like a plus 170 prop. So that's a little bit better than that minus 130. Either way, I'm rolling with Rob Font, UD. You got Chito Vera. How's he get it done, AJ?
Yeah, I'm going with Chito Vera, and I like what you said there, Derick. You can't really judge these two's last fight on exactly how it's going to go down, and that's why I'm going contrarian, man. Yeah. I'm going complete left field. Like I said, Rob Font's never been knocked out, but I think Chito's going to be the first one to do it. Sheesh. I'm going Chito Vera KO round 4. A little late in the fight, a little bit of time. If there's going to be a points victory, I see Rob Font winning it, but I'm going Vera with the early stoppage right there, brother. Like I said, contrarian with the KO.
Okay, well, the over and under is 4.5 rounds, brother. So you said early round 4. Are you taking the under?
Ooh, I'm taking the under. I'm taking the under.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That is your main event for UFC Vegas 53. Now, AJ, we got a bunch of other fun fights that we need to break down, especially this one. The man who just doesn't go away, Andre Arlovski, my man, ranked at a crisp number 16 in the Tapology rankings versus number 38 ranked Jake Collier, the hybrid. Now, this is a fun matchup, AJ, and the reason why it's fun is because you finally have two heavyweights who, are they really heavyweights? Is Arlovski a true heavyweight? Is Collier a true heavyweight? He a big boy, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't make you a 260-pounder, right? When we're looking at the weights right now, last time that Arlovski weighed in was about 246, and I guess for Jake Collier, I guess he is a true 265er because his last weigh-in was 264. But his hands and his speed just don't match his size, so that's what's interesting to me. Andre Arlovski right now, man, he's on a 3-fight win streak. Wins against Jared Vanderaa, Carlos Felipe, and Chase Sherman. All decision wins right there. Jake Collier, he's coming off of a big win against Chase Sherman where he choked him out in 30 seconds or something like that. Either way, AJ, on paper, you got a dude who has 50-plus fights in Arlovski versus a dude who maybe has 20 in Collier. So Arlovski's always going to win the experience battle. But let's talk speed here. I thought Arlovski is pretty crispy and pretty speedy for a man of his age. And I don't know. I don't have his age on me, but I think it's 43. I do have his age. Boom. 43 years old. So a man 10 years younger than him in Collier. Do you think Collier has a speed advantage in this fight? Or do you think Arlovski still has it?
Oh, I don't know. That's going to be close. But I think Collier has it, man. Collier has this weird way. I don't remember if he started out at 155 or at 170.
185, brother.
185. Yeah. I knew it was a lighter weight class. I didn't remember which one, but he was a young, skinny boy, man. He was very thin, and now he's filled into that, but he's kept that speed. You know what I'm saying? And nonetheless, the speed with the hands, but he's also kept the speed with the feet and his head movement, man. He looks slick out there. The hybrid is a very apt nickname for Jake Collier. Now, will he be faster than Andre Arlovski, man? It's going to be hard because Arlovski, he's the rare very rare breed of old school fighter that is still fighting one nonetheless, but has kept the speed and the power. They say the first thing the last thing you keep is the power. Andre Arlovski's kept his speed, man. He's been looking good, and he's kept his mind sharp. This is going to be an interesting one to see. I don't know who's faster, Derick. Who do you think?
I think that while Collier does have faster hand speed, I think that Andrei Arlovski's style of fight is going to disrupt the rhythm and the timing of Collier, and his timing is going to be able to beat the speed, if that makes sense. So timing beats speed, precision beats power, right? That's the name of the game. For Andrei Arlovski, both of these dudes are 6'3", but for Andrei Arlovski specifically, man, he has a 1-inch reach disadvantage. So it's going to be interesting to see how the fight goes on the feet. Does anybody take a shot here?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
A swing and bang, right? That's what we're looking for right here. I think this is going to be a simple matchup, a hard-fought matchup. I do think this fight goes to a decision personally, but let's talk some props, AJ. On points for both of these guys, right? Because minus 160 is the money line favor for Arlovski with the plus 135 comeback for Collier. On points, for Andrei Arlovski, we're looking at plus 125. For points for Collier, we're looking at plus 240. So what's interesting to me is that Andrei Arlovski is clearly the betting favorite in kind of all aspects, prop aspects, money line aspects. But when you're looking at a knockout, which was the second best, both of these dudes is pretty long shot, man. Plus 475 for Arlovski, plus 450 for Collier. So I think money line or points might be the best bet to go for these fighters. I'm rolling with Andrei Arlovski, brother. I just think he's more experienced. I think he's going to be able to pick apart Jake Collier with his timing, disrupt, the rhythm, that rhythm step and that kind of feints and all that, just disrupt Collier. But I could be wrong. Collier could go in there and just put on a clinic and have that too fast hand speed and put it on Arlovski. But when you look at the strength of schedule, I think it's clear Arlovski, obviously in his day, but even recently has had a tougher strength of schedule than Jake Collier. So who are you rocking with? Why? How do you see it getting done?
Yeah, I'm rolling with you. I think the decision is the best route for this one as well. A knockout can happen. These two big boys are swinging like that, but I think both of them are going to know the other one has some power and kind of go into it a little bit more cautious. I'm rocking Arlovski, and I'm going by decision as well. Still going to be a very fun fight, but it is going to be a longer one, I think.
So over and under is 2.5 rounds. We're both going by decision, so it looks like we're taking the over. And the last question is, would you rather take the minus 160 money line on Arlovski, or do you want the plus 125 points?
Yeah, I'm taking the plus 125 points on that one. I mean, obviously, minus to plus, it always makes sense, but you never know.
You never know, but I do think that's going to be a pretty rock-solid bet right there, folks. So we'll holler back at you next week and let you know the status. All right, my man. Now, this is a fight right here, AJ, that kind of had a couple question marks in my head when I saw the matchup. You got number 20 ranked Andre Fili, a very experienced man, versus number 5 ranked Joanderson Brito. And this is a featherweight contest, but Andre Fili is a clear favorite, minus 240 favorite. What is the difference in styles between these fighters? Brito is a walk forward, smash, jab, right hand down the pipe, or double leg you, pick you up, take you to his corner, Chimaev style, and dump you on your head. Andre Fili could do it all. He could box, he could kickbox, he could do jiu-jitsu, he could wrestle. But the one flaw in Andre Fili's game, in my opinion, is that he's sometimes a little too willing to play jiu-jitsu from that bottom position. Now, that happened in the Sadiq Yusuff fight. He took down Sadiq Yusuff a bunch of times. He was winning, and then he got reversed, and then he got smashed off of his back, so it wasn't a good spot. Bryce Mitchell, this is what Doug Nasty does to everybody. He smashes, right? Why do you think Joanderson Brito, who lost his UFC debut to Bill Algeo in kind of devastating fashion, right? He was winning, but he got gassed out, cardio, and just got, a UFC veteran put it on him. Why do you think he gets matched up with someone who's even a higher caliber UFC veteran? Like, how does this happen?
Yeah, I think it's just because the UFC brass respects Brito so much and the style that he has. They know he can do it. They just think, he had that adrenaline dump going in the beginning, and that's kind of maybe why he gassed out a little bit. I just think it's the trust that they have in Brito, man. This dude's a scrapper, a very fun fighter, very fan-friendly, engaging, always going to be pushing the pace. Somebody the UFC really wants to highlight, so I think they're giving him another big-time test to really put him in that spotlight and get the wheels shined up a little bit. What do you think?
Well, I'd have to say that's got to be like the only reason, right? I really don't see any other reason other than it's also a fun clash of styles, right? Brito is very walk forward. Andre Fili can kind of do it all, like I said. But I just think that Andre Fili, in terms of experience, has a ridiculous edge right here. Like, it's not even close. But then again, Brito doesn't necessarily need to bank on his experience because because he had Bill Algeo in some pretty bad spots in that fight in his UFC debut. So let's talk about it, brother. 21-8-1 with 1 no contest is Andre Fili. 12-3-1 is Joanderson Brito. When you look at the different methodologies of finishes, you're going to be looking at Fili with 9 knockouts, 3 submissions, 9 decisions. Brito with 5 knockouts, 5 submissions, 2 decisions. So both of these dudes can finish somebody. However, if you're an Andre touchy-feely, you're looking at more decisions than you're really kind of looking at everything else, at least in recent memory. Now, this is the big trepidation that I have with this matchup right here. Has Brito learned his lesson from his last fight, and will he not gas himself out going into round 3? Because I think Andre Fili can keep his cardio all 3 rounds. He could throw a million strikes all 3 rounds unless he's on his back for all 3 rounds. So the way that I'm looking at this matchup, I'm saying if Brito can go about the same game plan he did with Bill Algeo, walk forward, smother Fili, keep him on his back, drop elbows, try to get a submission, he could win this fight. That is his path to victory to me. I don't see any other path to victory personally, because if Andre Fili is able to keep the fight on the feet, it's going to be a long night for Brito. Do you kind of agree with my assessment there?
100%, Derick. That's exactly how I see it. If Fili's back is on the ground and he's not actively trying to get up, because you're right, he does play the jiu-jitsu game just a little bit too much, it's going to be an easy one for Brito, man. That's his style. He's a mauler. He's down to keep it on the ground like that. Now, if Fili can keep it on the feet, stay active, stay at that range that he has, then it's going to be a nice one for Fili. I see that Fili decision, no problem, man.
So when it comes down to it, though, Andre Fili does have another knack or another intangible, or I guess an actual tangible right here that will help him out. I don't even know what you call it. But listen, 74-inch reach to 72-inch for Brito. He has a reach advantage and he has a height advantage, 5'11 to 5'8. He's the taller, longer fighter, brother. So that's my whole entire thing. He can pick you apart all day long at distance. Brito, it's going to be his job, his challenge, his responsibility to close the distance and to give Fili some problems. Now, let's just look at last 5 for Fili really quickly. You have Daniel Pineda, which was a no contest. Remember, he's coming off of that eye poke, which kind of lost him the fight. Well, I mean, it didn't lose him anything. It was a no contest, but it was a fight he could have won until the eye poke, right? Bryce Mitchell, he just kind of got mauled against Thug Nasty. It's okay. Charles Jourdain, he won a split decision. And that win aged nicely because Jourdain is looking nice these days. He lost to Sadiq Youssef and he lost to Sherman Moraes, or he won against Sherman Moraes a first round knockout. That's pretty damn impressive, bro. I mean, I have to say, just for Andre Fili, even though it's not the toughest dudes in the world, but I mean, you look at that name, and if you know what you're looking at, you're like, okay, that's legit. So once again, I think Andre Fili, if we're looking at they fought 10 times, I think Andre Fili probably wins like 7 or 8. You know what I mean? But I'm still going to pick for Brito here, going against the grain, because I think if he could use that power smash style, man, this is a 3-round fight. If he could use that power smash style, conserve some of his cardio, and actually keep Fili on the ground, it's gonna be, over. But then again, I can understand why you're seeing that Fili decision victory. So let's talk props really quickly. Andre Fili, by decision, if that's what you're rolling with. He's minus 240 on the money line, but for points, plus 145, brother. So, I mean, hey, that's not bad right there. And I actually really like that prop. What do you think?
I really like that prop right there. That, to me, that makes a lot more sense right there, man. That plus, what was it, 140?
Plus 145.
145, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I like that.
So here's a contrarian one that I actually think makes a lot more sense. Will it happen? I don't know, but could it happen? I think so. For Joanderson Brito to win via TKO, plus 1,000, brother, plus 1,000. And this is a scenario I could see happening. I mean, granted, Andre Fili's only been knocked out twice in his entire career, so it's not going to be an easy task. But Brito has that style to get you on the ground. Drop enough elbows, unresponsive, you're getting the TKO finish, brother. So plus 1,000 for TKO, plus 800 for submission for Joanderson Brito. I don't really see him winning any other way. Which one do you like more, the TKO or the submission?
Oh, the TKO all day, man. That's his style. That smash style, especially because Fili is down to play the jiu-jitsu game and stay on the back. Brito gets a smash spot on. I might put some money down on that just because. That's a great comeback right there.
Just because. And you look at the last 5, you have Brito, who has a submission and a knockout win. And if you look at the last 5 for Fili, he has all decisions and 1 knockout victory. So we will see how it goes. Either way, you're going with Andre Fili via decision, yeah? Okay.
Correct.
And that means that the over and under on this fight is 2.5 rounds. So you will be taking the over. Now, for me, once again, I said I do not think Brito could win this fight if it goes the distance. I think that he has to get a finish to win this fight, or he has to just pummel Fili enough to where it's just not even not even close, right? I'm gonna rock with that TKO. I like that plus 1,000 right there. But I'm gonna rock with this. Give me a round 2 finish, man. I'll take the under. It's going to be a fun one. This is going to be a deciding matchup between me and AJ right here. Either way, I think that this should be a fun scrap. All right, brother. So we have a fun matchup next right here. And this is one where this is the true definition of fire versus fire, flames versus flames, mauler versus mauler, grappler versus grappler. You have Jared Gordon, ranked number 35 in the lightweight division versus number 23 ranked Grant Dawson. Now, let's not forget here, AJ. Grant Dawson is coming off of a weird majority draw fight against Ricky Glenn where he was dominating the fight, gassed out in round 3, and Ricky Glenn did literally like just enough to force a draw. So this was a fight that Grant Dawson was pretty much winning until, you know what I mean, he just kind of didn't give it that. If he would have gave it that last, if he had a little something more in round 3, he would have got it done. Either way, Jared Gordon is a dude who gets counted out time and time again. He's an underdog constantly in his fights, and he wins his fights constantly. His last loss, believe it or not, was to the current lightweight champion, Charles Oliveira, and that was a first-round knockout. Aside from that, he has, since that loss, he has a win against Chris Fishgold, decision win, Danny Chavez, decision win, and Joe Selecki, split decision win. Now, I think his last win against Joe Selecki should tell you a lot about how this Dawson fight is going to play out. Do you know who Joe Selecki is, AJ, outside of just MMA fighter?
Outside of MMA fighting?
Yeah.
No, man. I only know him for his MMA.
So this dude is one of the sickest, nastiest Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners out there right now, man. This dude, his game is dirty, man. So I watched him at the UFC Invitational, the grappling event at the Apex, right? And this dude, like him and let's just say he's the real deal. He is elite level jiu-jitsu. And when he was fighting Jared Gordon, he took Gordon down. He had the backpack on him. He was smothering him. But Jared Gordon always knows just what to do to be able to reverse the position, get you against the cage, ground and pound you, get on top of you, take your back, seat belt, just control, brother. It's all about control. So in his fight against Grant Dawson, I think Dawson, who is literally exactly what I just said, the exact same thing, right? He is take you down, control, smother, ground and pound. I think that this is going to be interesting to see who is going to be able to do the little things to be able to reverse the positions, get on top, hold your opponent there. If you had to say someone has an edge in this fight in the grappling department, would you say it's Dawson or would you say it's Gordon?
Man, that's and we're talking millimeters right here of an edge, Derick, because they're so both very, very good at what they do. I'd almost have to give it to Gordon, but at the same point, man, it's super close. I don't know. I wouldn't even really be able to tell because they're so good. I don't know who you give it to. Like I said, I'm giving it to Jared Gordon, but that's very minimal. Who are you giving it to?
I'm giving it to Jared Gordon in terms of the experience, brother. Like, I just think that he's so experienced. He's been doing this thing for so long. And he has a comparable record to Grant Dawson, right? 18-4 is Gordon, 17-1-1 is Dawson, right? So it's kind of comparable. They're right there, kind of the same amount of fights. But I think Jared Gordon has been fighting against high caliber opposition for so long that this dude has been able to just kind of be that underdog who just wins time and time again. Now, Grant Dawson is the youth. He's the young. He's got the vigor, right? He's the young, youthful dude coming in who is just that nasty smash style wrestler who just gets you on your back and pummels you. But then again, same thing with the Joanderson Brito. When that third round comes, brother, what are we looking like? All that grappling is going to make you tired. This is actually something, AJ, believe it or not, we were talking about this in jiu-jitsu. I think this was yesterday at training, right? And we were talking about these hard rounds we were doing, and we're saying at a certain point when you're doing jiu-jitsu or when you're fighting or when you're doing combat sports or whatever sport, it's not a matter of who's better. It's a matter of who wants it more. And that's going to be my question for this round 3, if it does make it there in this matchup. Who's going to want it more? If you had to take a guess on that right now, who do you think it would be?
Man, I'm hoping it's going to be Dawson because that's the whole reason I picked him right there, brother,
Yeah.
because I agree with you. I think it's going to be a battle of attrition on this one, man. Whoever is in those late rounds and says, you know what, I'm still hungry. I may be at the buffet right now, but I'm still hungry. I'm still eating. I'm hoping it's going to be Dawson. But like I said, man, this is the epitome of what I was talking about earlier with the grinder matchup we have.
Yeah.
This fight right here is grinder against grinder. This is going to be very interesting in the technical game to see how it gets done, but also in the mental game in those late rounds, how it does, because we've seen Dawson fade. So It scares me a little bit, but I think with what happened in his last fight, he's going to take that and kind of turn that into a good positive outlook and keep the gas tank for this next fight coming up. At least that's what I'm hoping. Who do you think?
Well, I can't say that Jared Gordon doesn't fade because he faded in his last fight against Selecki, but they were both grappling for 2 heavy rounds before rounds 3. So this is what Dawson does. So let's say both of them fade. That's when it comes down to who wants it more. I'm not sure, brother. This is one of those things where you said, I don't know. That's how I feel about this entire matchup. However, I'm going to lean towards Jared Gordon because of the experience and because what we saw in that round 3 of Grant Dawson. Call it what you want, AJ, but a lot of people would call it quit. And I'm not calling it quit, but a lot of people would call it quit. And I'm just going to say Jared Gordon is a dude who I don't think there is a quit in that man. You know what I'm saying? This is a dude who's overcome a lot. He'll often talk about his reformed lifestyle. You know, he was a former, drug addict or something like that. And no need to even really bring that up. But this is something where if you can get past those demons, I mean, imagine what you could do in the cage. So I did want to talk about this last aspect before we talk about props real fast. Obviously, Gordon is a plus 145 underdog, minus 170 favorite for Dawson. But let's say this is grappler versus grappler, where it turns into a kickboxing match. I actually think Grant Dawson has a clear, striking advantage over Jared Gordon. Would you agree?
I agree entirely. I think he's just a lot slicker, a lot faster on the hands and feet.
Yeah.
Now, will that happen? I don't know, man. I don't know if it's – usually we see that fire versus fire null each other out, and then we get the kickboxing match. Yeah. But with these two, I don't know. I think we're going to see a washing machine, man.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to help themselves. I think it might be instinctual. They're just I have to shoot for a double. I have to, right? So let's talk props, AJ. When it comes down to a points prop, for Jared Gordon, we're looking at plus 225. For Grant Dawson, we're looking at plus 140. So the odds makers clearly think that Grant Dawson has a better shot of winning this via decision. Now, because Jared Gordon has 10 decisions and Grant Dawson only has 2 decisions, a finish would probably be more likely for Grant Dawson, given his style. So a TKO finish by Grant Dawson right now is looking at plus 450. If we're looking at the same for Jared Gordon, it's plus 700. I mean, you like that plus 450 TKO for Grant Dawson, or what do you think?
I like it just because the plus 450 sounds a little bit better, but I think by decision is going to be the more likely route right here. Just with the style of matchup they have, I don't really see Jared Gordon going to sleep. So I as much as I like that plus 450, I still like the decision one a little bit more.
I got you. So over and under is 2.5 rounds, brother. You taking the over for Grant Dawson?
I'm taking the over for Grant Dawson. Yep. Dawson by points.
And I'm taking Gordon by points on this one. Once again, this is just youth versus experience. This is vigor versus veteranship. I just think Jared Gordon is going to do just enough to get it done. However, I can totally see your point right there, AJ. I mean, Grant Dawson is a nasty, nasty competitor. He only has, one loss in his entire career? Does he even have a loss? Yeah, he has one loss. But in the UFC, he's undefeated, 5-0 with 1 draw. So should be a fun fight, but if anything, there's probably be a grinder fight more than anything else, man. So, all right, AJ, next up, Darren the Damage Elkins versus number 94 ranked Tristan Connelly. Now, Darren Elkins is coming in at ranked number 31. This is a dude who just came back from a 4-fight loss streak, strung a couple together. So let's look at the last 5, man. He's 2-3 in the last 5. His only sole wins have come against Luigi Garagori. Nasty competitor. Apologies, it might be Luis or something like that, but either way, Garagori, scary man, and Derek Minner. The losses are to Cup Swanson, Nate Landwehr, and Ryan Hall. Now, for Tristan Connelly, he made his UFC debut against Pat Sabatini, which is who wants to make their debut against that man? Pat Sabatini is a dangerous man. But here's the key caveat, AJ. Tristan Connelly, this is a dude who has a win over Michel Paeta at 170 pounds. He made his UFC debut at 145 pounds, and the fights before that 170-pound fight against Paeta were fought at 155 pounds and catch weight. So this dude's all over the place on the scale, brother. He's fighting at any weight class. It doesn't matter. But we saw against Pat Sabatini, his chin was compromised at 145 pounds. Kind of the same thing that all these dudes moving down weight besides Jose Aldo, they're all getting compromised, man. They can't take the heat when they move down. Darren Elkins will bring the heat on the hands, but if there's one thing he does best, it's wrestling, brother. And Connelly had some trouble. Even though Connelly is a jiu-jitsu black belt, he had trouble against Pat Sabatini in his last fight. I don't see how this against Darren Elkins would be any different. What can you give me in terms of a winning strategy for Tristan Connelly against the Damage, Darren Elkins?
Man, against the Damage, I think he needs to do what he did against Paeta, man. Keep it, the Damage on the back foot. Keep working. Try not to get taken down because you're right. As much as good as Connelly is on the ground with his back on the ground, Darren is just so much better with that top pressure and control when it always favors to the judges being on top. Yeah. So if he can stay away from the ground game, keep Darren on the back foot, keep pushing, keep pacing, and keep the hands going. He does technically technical wise, Tristan Connelly, I think, has the better striking as far as, like I said, technique goes. Darren the Damage, man, he's going to be coming in full swing, full hot and heavy. So if Tristan can stay with the up and down, the straight punches down the pipe, rotate, you get out, move away, shuffle away, keep going. I think that's his best path to victory right here. But it's going to be very hard because you're also going to have Darren Elkins just full on pressure for you. I think he'll be leading the dance a little bit more. But if Tristan Connelly can lead the dance, I see a path to victory that way. How do you see it?
Well, Tristan Connelly, his style is to move forward and be in your face, but I think that's going to be to his detriment because if you're moving forward, you're setting up yourself for a takedown. You know what I mean? So I think that Darren Elkins, brother, he's too experienced. I think that he takes a ridiculous amount of damage. Clearly, his nickname is The Damage. Now, his last fight against Cub Swanson, he gets spinning wheel kicked. Okay, all right, happens, right? Happens to the best of us. But in all of his other fights, brother, he's only been knocked out 4 times in his 37 professional fights. So it's going to be tough to knock the man out. He's only been submitted once in those fights. It's going to be tough to submit the man. And if there's one thing that he does best, brother, the reason why he's still in the UFC is because he knows how to control his opposition and hold them on their back. I like Darren Elkins in this fight, brother. I don't have too much else to say. He's a minus 170 favorite, but I wanted to ask you for his prop on points, plus 150. I like that. I like that for Darren Elkins, plus 150 on points. But for Tristan Connelly to win via a submission or a TKO, plus 700, or actually, yeah, plus 700, TKO, plus 550. So if Tristan Connelly were to win, do you think submission or TKO is the best bet?
Submission, man. It's going to be very hard to get that TKO victory on Darren. But, I mean, it can happen. We just saw it happen with Cub Swanson, so it can happen. But do they have the same power, the same hitting style? I don't really know.
I mean, listen, it's not every day you're getting smacked in the face with a spinning wheel kick, brother. I'll just say that. But, all right, Darren Elkins on points. Like I said, plus 150. I like Darren Elkins here. I like the plus on points a lot better than the minus 170 money line personally. I like the damage, brother. And that means the over is 2.5 rounds. We're both going points. Over for Darren Elkins, yeah?
Yeah, right, and I like that plus money a lot better as well.
Absolutely. And now we have come to the first fight on the main card. And this is going to be a scrap, AJ. This is going to be a very technical fight, in my opinion, on the striking and on the grappling. Now, we have number 17th ranked Krzysztof Jotko versus number 19th ranked Gerald Meerschaert 3, GM3. GM3 has made a crazy resurgence, brother, since losing to... He lost to Chimaev and he lost to Ian Heinisch. And then he rattled off 3 wins in a row, all via submission, rounds 1, 2, and 3 in his last fights against Bartosz Fabinski, Makhmed Muradov, and Dustin Stoltzfus, right? So he's kind of been on the journeyman path here, I'm not going to lie, right? He hasn't been fighting the biggest of names, but he has fought some people. Krzysztof Jotko, on the other hand, he won a split decision against Misha Serkinov, where he admittedly had some body issues. He was saying there was some stuff going on with his weight cut and all that in that fight, which was a little problematic for him. He lost to Sean Strickland, beat Eric Anders, beat Marc-Andre Barriault, and Amadovsky, man. Those are big wins, brother. Those are big wins, especially look at what Power Bar is doing. This dude is out here just submitting folks in, you know what I mean, 2 minutes or whatever. Nasty man. So, AJ, Jotko, the thing that I like about this man, and the reason why I think he has an edge in this fight, he is a minus 170 favorite after all, with a plus 145 comeback for GM3. The reason I like him, man, is because he's always trying to be active. If he gets taken down, he's trying to get back up to his feet. He's never just settling for a position. Very technical striker. Not the most exciting. We'll be honest here. Not the most exciting matchup. The man has 16 decisions on his record, brother. We will just put that one out there. But when it comes to the striking, I think he's levels above GM3 given the circumstance, right? GM3 has the big right hand, the big bombs, right? But in terms of just technical striking, precision striking, stick, move, head movement, get around, I think Jotko has a big edge. Would you agree? Because I felt like you was giving me a couple I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was thinking about it because you're right. I think GM3 has that power advantage, and his striking, even though it is really fundamental, it's consistent. It's very consistent with GM3, man. He leaks out that jab and it comes with that big power right. It works for him. It works for him. It's the style. He gets it done. But I agree with you with the head movement, with the staying busy, the feints, the jabs, everything that Jotko has is a lot more technical. So I agree with what you're saying. But I do think GM3, he has that right hand of power, man. It can happen. But off the technical-wise, the technical breakdown, I agree with you, the Jotko for sure.
So what does it mean, AJ? What does it mean to you that in his fight against Dustin Stoltzfus, he was kind of losing the majority of that fight until that third round came and he was able to lock in that desperation last-minute rear naked choke? Like, if you're losing to Dustin Stoltzfus, who is not a bad fighter whatsoever, he is a great grappler, but he has also kind of underperformed in the UFC thus far, what do you think that's going to be? Like, Krzysztof Jotko is a completely another level above. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think this, and it's not sad to say, but it is a truth that faces a lot of fighters. GM3 is really becoming the ultimate litmus test. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's exactly where they're putting Jotko in against. Like, how good are you, Jotko? Can you beat these guys that, a lot of these other guys, like you said, Makhmud Muradov, Fabinski, Stoltzfus was one that to get closest to it, but still fell short. Taking that into it, if Jotko falls short on this one, I think it's just a bad look for him. So it's almost a need to win happen for Jotko. And GM3 is on a surge, man. So if he gets another one, it's very important for him. But it does mean a lot that the UFC, it's not a highly coveted position, this gatekeeper, this journeyman position that we find a lot of fighters in. But it is a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's respected by the UFC, even though it's not highly coveted by the fighters, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, you're doing the company a favor. You're fighting all the young guns trying to come up, trying to make their name off of your name. I mean, it's a tough spot. You got a target on your back. But either way, it's fulfilling, right? Because it keeps you in the company, keeps you in the promotion. Now, AJ, let's cut straight to the chase, brother. The prop on a GM3 submission right here is plus 225, which is actually scary to me because he's a plus 145 underdog. So it shows that the odds makers are saying if he's going to win, it's going to be by submission. His prop on knockout is plus 1200 and his prop on points is plus 485. So they're like, if it's not a submission, he's probably not going to win. Now, Jotko, who is a minus 170 favorite, his points prop is plus 150, TKO plus 200, and submission plus 1200. So, AJ, what is more tantalizing right here? The plus 150 on points for Jotko or plus 225 submission for Meerschaert?
Ooh. Honestly, man, that plus 220 submission for Meerschaert, just because he's very crafty. Yeah. He's a good time veteran. He knows things and he knows how to win. Both these fighters, they know how to win. Like they can both squeak out decisions. They can both get their victories the way they can. I just think, man, that GM3 submission, it's an interesting one to happen. I could see it. Even though I'm still going for Jotko, still rooting for Jotko. I like that one a little bit better. What about you?
I think you have to throw a little bit of money on that just because, brother. Here's the thing about Jotko. He did get his back taken against Meerschaert in his last fight, man. Like, Serkinov had him in some bad spots, but that's why I love Jotko. In its own weird way, he was able to defend the position, get back up to his feet, and get the fight where he wants the fight to take place. Now, against GM3, do you even have the opportunity to get up once he has you? I don't know. That's the problem. He's kind of a boa constrictor in his own right. Shout out to Alexei Oleinik. But, yeah, man. So I like that plus 225 prop, but I really like that decision prop on Jotko, brother. This dude is proven to get it done. I mean, he has no finishes in his last 5 fights, 16 decision victories, and 23 total victories. If you had to do a percentage, that's clearly over half. That's like 70% of your wins are via decision. So the man knows how to win a fight. That's what I'm saying. That's the kind of the beauty. Even though it's boring, he knows how to win a fight. And you just have to kind of leave it at that. So for GM3, is this a situation where, like, let me ask you this. This is the final question before we give our, obviously we already know our picks, but can he win a decision against Jotko?
Yes. Oh yeah. I think GM he has the potential, or the brain power, and the style to get it done. Because I actually think this is going to be a very close fight, man. Another grinder of a fight, very back and forth. I think he can win a decision. What about you?
Well, I'm going to ask you this question one more time, AJ, and I want you to really think about it. You think GM3 can win a decision? Do you know when the last time GM3 won a decision was?
Man, I'd have to say like 3 years ago. I don't have the notes on it, but
all right, brother, we're scrolling. I'm scrolling. I'm gonna keep scrolling here. I'll do it for the folks. I'll let the folks watch in on this one. Okay, GM3, right? 34 wins, 14 losses. All right, we got lots of finishes. Let's scroll. We got a couple, decision losses, but let's keep scrolling. Keep scrolling until we get a decision to win. It looks like we're still scrolling. 2013, brother. That was the last time GM3 won by decision against George Lockhart. So, brother, it's been almost 10 years since the man has won a decision. And he's basically, when we're looking at the methodology right here for GM3, brother, he has 6 knockout wins, 26 submission wins, and 2 decision wins. So, I'm going to ask you one more time. You think he could win a decision on Jotko?
Man, I'm doubling down, brother. It's about time he wins a decision. Yeah, right. No. I'll take that back because and Jotko's a real pressure style fighter, so it's going to be very hard to win a decision against him. I think he could, but the submission's a lot more likely for sure.
Yeah, but this is a dude who lives and dies by the finish, man. You have to respect a GM3 for that reason. And Jotko is a man who knows how to win a fight. I'm picking Krzysztof Jotko. I think he gets it done via decision, and I like the points prop. So one more time, folks, for the good folks listening and watching at home, plus 150 is your points prop for Jotko against GM3. Take it, please. I mean, this is one of the, like, GM3 via submission, Jotko via decision. Those are like the 2 outcomes. If there's any other outcome, I will be fucking amazed, right? But that means I'm taking the over because the over is 2.5 rounds on this fight. AJ, are you in consensus with me?
In consensus, man, Jotko by decision. I'm taking the over, but some serious value in that GM3 by submission. Though you're right, Derick. Those are the only two ways this can go down.
Yeah.
If it's other than that, man, it's just a miracle from above.
Absolutely, folks. So that is your UFC Vegas 53 main card breakdown. We gave you the money lines, the props, the wagers, everything. We gave you the insight, the TLDR in the beginning. What more could you ask for? So since we gave out so much, the only thing that we ask in return is you drop a like, subscribe, share the show with your friends, because that's the most important. Word of mouth is the best marketing tool in the game right now. So let the homies know, hey, you want to get some good picks, you want to talk about props, in-depth analysis right there, hit up the Bloody Water Podcast. Hit up bloodywaterpodcast.com on Instagram at Bloody Water Podcast and on Twitter at Bloody Water Pod. Now, AJ, brother, we do have a little bit more work to do. Before we get up out of here, let's just talk a couple of these prelim fights really quickly, just so we can do a little pour over, AJ. So if you don't mind, I want to talk about really quickly Daniel De Silva versus Francisco Figueiredo. This is going to be a fun fight, AJ. This was almost my sleeper. And the reason why is because Daniel De Silva, even though he got TKO'd in his UFC debut against Jeff Molina, this dude has spinning jump kicks, spinning back kicks, crazy kicks of all variety. He's in your face. He's a great grappler. He could snatch your back, could put the backpack on you, Aljamain Sterling style, and give you real problems. Now, Francisco Figueiredo, who his last fight, I believe, was either against Jerome Rivera or it was against Malcolm Gordon. It was actually against Malcolm Gordon. I think he lost against Malcolm Gordon in his last fight. Francisco Figueiredo, when he's not fighting a dude who's just trying to wrestle him the entire fight, he's a very like Amanda Lemos, but also like big Figgy, like Davison Figueiredo, right? Stand tall, that kind of Muay Thai style, that very tall, power, flat-footed stance. So you have a mover, Daniel De Silva moving, always shaking, jiving, doing all that stuff versus the flat-footed power style of Figueiredo. Who do you like in this fight? Like, who do you think this matchup leads an edge towards?
Off the visuals on the top when I was looking at this one, Figueiredo all day. That's what I was looking at right there. But then I started to look at it, man. And De Silva, like you said, he's slick, man. He's moving, he's busy, he's staying busy. It's always a hard fight for the guy who's standing tall, Muay Thai style, when they just have a guy that's coming at him like a little blitz, man. Just everything's going crazy. There's so much to look at, so much to kind of process mentally. And next thing you know, you're getting pieced up. I kind of like De Silva a little bit more in this one, but off the appearance, right off the beginning, my heart went Figueiredo, but then I started to battle it back, man. Who you like a little bit more in this one?
I like De Silva right here. I like De Silva right here. I think he's got more tools in his tool belt to get the job done. And also, brother, I got to just show some love because one of the homies at my jiu-jitsu gym, one of our black belts, man, Hanan Henrique, he actually is training out there with Daniel De Silva, getting him ready for his fight, man. He also cornered Alex Cowboy Oliveira in his last fight against Kevin Holland, brother. So you got to show some love to the squad. But I also just, even before that, I've already been high on Daniel De Silva because he's such a high flyer, flashy fighter. I think he has all the chops. He just got caught against Jeff El Jefe Molina, you know what I mean? And it happened to the best of them. Now, AJ, let's talk about a quick matchup between Gabe Green and Yohan Lainez. I apologize, brother. I butchered your name, but you have some hands, brother. He's coming off of a big win in his Dana White Contender Series matchup. Big left hook from hell. Got the TKO victory, or the KO victory, I should just say. But AJ, the reason why I think this is going to be a fun matchup is because Gabe Green is a walk forward, smash you in your face style fighter too. The difference here is I think the Lainez, or Yohan, I'll just call him that, the man, he loads up just a little bit too much for my liking. He loads up on his shots. You could see him coming a mile away. Gabe Green will knock your block off if you give him the opportunity to do so. So this is just a fun matchup. I don't know too much about Lainez, so I'm not going to comment too much, but I will say over and under on a knockout, brother. 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, how does it get done? Who's going to sleep? Someone's going to sleep.
Someone's going to sleep. I'm going over under 2 rounds, man. I'm actually taking the under on that as well because I almost made this one my sleeper. These dudes are going to come in with some heat from the beginning. You're right, Lainez, Yohan. This dude's a killer, especially hasn't been proven yet too much. So he's, has that unknown factor to him. And we know Gabe Green, man, this dude can absolutely bang. Him and D-Rod's fight was a very, very fun fight, man. So I think we're in for some fun right here.
Absolutely. And then kind of basically the last matchup we need to talk about here is Gina Mazzani versus Shanna Young. And I don't have too much to say other than Gina Mazzani, I think she needs a win here. She needs a win badly. 7-5 is Mazzani, 8-5 is Shanna Young. Both of these fighters haven't had the most success in the UFC as of late, I will say. But either way, I think for Gina Mazzani, she's a -170 favorite. Brother, what do you make of this matchup?
Yeah, it is a must win for Mazzani for sure, man. But also kind of for Shanna Young, man. Dropping 2 against Macy Chasson and Stephanie Egger. It's not the best look. She's kind of getting left behind in the pack right there, but much more a need to win for Gina Mazzani. It's going to be a fun fight regardless. I like seeing that the women are growing, but it feels like these two women right here in the division are somewhat getting left in the shadow of the rest of the female division. So if we see a performance right here, star-studded performance, I think that'll be more interesting to me.
All right, and I do believe that Gina Mazzani, alongside our other man, Grant Dawson, and who's our third one? We have one more. There's one more. It's Dawson, it's Mazzani, and I think it's all right, I'm blank. And Tristan Connelly, maybe. I think they're all fighting out of Glory MMA. So James Krause is going to be busy at UFC Vegas 53. I will just say that. All right, folks, that's your prelim pour-over. That's all the fights that we got for UFC Vegas 53. And with that being said, we can move on to the outro. AJ, listen, brother, fun night of fights. Obviously, we have some PFL action coming up for the 2022, the heavyweights and the featherweights. Bruno Capoloza, I don't know if you know who this dude is, but he knocks everybody's head off. You should definitely tune into that. Lance Palmer, fun fight. Chris Wade, Brendan Loughnane, or Lonani, I don't know. I apologize, but he's a good fighter too. There's a lot of fun fights in the PFL. AJ, have you been keeping up? Bubba Jenkins is fighting too. Shout out. That's the Vegas connection out here. Have you been keeping up with any PFL? Just kind of like tuning in here and there while they've made their comeback?
I'll give a couple like views to the clips, man, to the clip show. I never really catch the PFL fights. It's always on Friday. I always forget it's random, you know. So I haven't really been tuning into the actual production, but I do catch the clips on YouTube, especially when there's a couple good fights out there, man.
The thing that's crazy about the PFL is it's not even on Fridays, brother. It's on the more random days. It'll be on a Wednesday or a Thursday. So it's like cool if you're just like chilling at home, but most people got jobs, right? We work, you know what I mean? You have things to do, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you don't really get to catch it. Prelims start at 3:30 on a Wednesday. Like, I'm at work still, bro. I'm doing my thing, you know what I'm saying? So listen, I just think that it's going to be interesting to see the development of the PFL, especially with that whole entire situation we talked about where the PFL had some gambling weirdness live or pre-taped, but they were gambling on it and it was all weird. Like I said, it's kind of weird for the state of MMA. You don't want to take us back any further than, you know, it kind of already is, but either way, the state of MMA is fine, man. We'll be fine. All right, AJ, brother, this was a fun time doing it. As always, brother, we will be back, folks, on Monday to break down the madness, to see who the winner of Chito Vera versus Rob Font was. Big matchup in the bantamweight division. AJ, before we get out of here, I want to take one last look, and this is just very quickly, at our next week's contest. UFC 274, brother. You have Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje. Let's not forget, we have Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza. El Cucuy, Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chandler. Shogun Rua makes his return against Ovince St. Preux, and Cowboy Cerrone is fighting Joe Lauzon. Brother, I mean, we just said some blast from the past names. We said some real deal champions, brother. Out of all the pay-per-views we've had recently, this is probably one where I can say you might want to throw down that $75, brother. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, you got Justin Gaethje, you got Thug Rose, you're even getting Joe Lauzon back fighting Cowboy? What? That's the one, man. I might have to throw down some scratch for this one. If not, definitely hitting up the pub down the street, man. But wow, this is going to be an interesting fight card, man, next week.
Absolutely. And then lastly, AJ, this is on the fly real fast. I just wanted to let you know, if you didn't know, there's a UFC fight night that's going to be making its way to Austin, Texas, brother. And this is going to be happening, I can't tell you when, but it's in the upcoming future, brother. So I thought I was going to be able to pull it up really quickly, but I wasn't. But it's going to be coming to you shortly, my man. So you're going to have to get you some tickets and let me know what it's like over there. The Austin crowd with the MMA scene. Joe Rogan might be calling a fight night. You know he's a pay-per-view exclusive. But what do you make of that, AJ?
Man, now I'm excited, bro. I'm going to have to look at the calendar now and try to put this on because it's going to be fun, man. There's Austin, they're not as big, you know, fight ready as like Houston or anything like that. So it's gonna be interesting how the crowd goes down with that, man. I'm interested to see.
Absolutely. So folks, thank you for sticking around with us. We'll stop talking your ear off now at this point. We will catch you on Monday for the post show. Drop a like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Until next time, folks. Peace.